There is a psychological shift that makes a woman stop being passive and start chasing. Not because you asked, not because you convinced her, and not because you played games. It happens when something inside her flips from comfort to curiosity. Most men try to be wanted. The men women chase become unresolved in the right way. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Women don't chase what feels available. They chase what feels stable but not claimed. And almost every man destroys this without realizing it. They over-explain. They over-invest. They try to secure certainty. And the moment certainty appears, desire loses momentum. Chasing only happens when there's emotional movement. Movement dies when everything feels settled. This is the psychological trick. Not doing more, doing less at the right moments. A woman's chasing instinct activates when her nervous system senses a gap. Not a gap created by distance or coldness, a gap created by emotional independence. Independence without withdrawal. That gap creates tension, and tension creates pursuit. Most men think women chase excitement. They don't. They chase emotional gravity. Gravity comes from a man who does not lean emotionally. The moment you lean, gravity reverses. She becomes the center, you become the follower, and followers don't get chased. Here's the shift you need to understand. Chasing is not about wanting you, it's about wanting resolution. When a woman cannot fully read your emotional position, her mind stays engaged, not confused, engaged. Engagement leads to effort. Effort leads to pursuit. This is why women often chase men who aren't trying to be chased. Not because those men are special, but because they're undisturbed. Undisturbed by response time, undisturbed by validation, undisturbed by outcome. That undisturbed state creates an imbalance, and imbalance creates movement. Most men rush to balance everything. They clarify intentions, they reassure interest, they remove ambiguity, and in doing so, they remove the reason to chase. Another truth most men miss is this. Chasing begins when a woman feels emotionally safe but not emotionally certain. Safety keeps her nervous system open. Uncertainty keeps her attention active. If there's safety without uncertainty, she relaxes and disengages. If there's uncertainty without safety, she withdraws. The balance is everything. The psychological trick is holding that balance without effort. Another uncomfortable realization is that chasing never happens when you seek it. The moment you want her to chase, you collapse the dynamic. Wanting creates pressure. Pressure signals need. Need kills pursuit. This is why men who want nothing from the moment become unforgettable. They don't seek reassurance, they don't secure outcomes, they don't emotionally anchor themselves to her behavior. This creates a silent question in her mind. Why doesn't he need this? And that question pulls her forward. Another layer is emotional pacing. Men who rush intimacy get abandoned. Men who let intimacy grow naturally get chased. Not because they delay, but because they don't consume the connection. Consumption ends desire. Restraint sustains it. Another truth is this. Women don't chase men who impress them. They chase men who don't try to. Impressing is a request. Requests lower position. The man who is not requesting anything becomes the reference point. Another uncomfortable fact is that women chase when they feel they are investing more emotionally than you are. Investment creates attachment. Attachment creates pursuit. Most men invest first, and once they do, the chase ends before it begins. Another layer is silence. Silence is not absence. Silence is space. Space gives her mind room to move toward you. Men who fill silence remove space. Men who respect it create pull. Another deep truth is this. Chasing is a response to emotional leadership. Emotional leadership does not mean controlling her feelings. It means not being controlled by them. If her mood moves you, she won't chase. If your state remains steady, she will feel the imbalance, and imbalance creates pursuit. Another uncomfortable realization is that women chase men who could leave emotionally at any time without anger. Not because they want them to leave, but because freedom feels safe, and safety allows desire to move. Another truth most men resist is this. You cannot fake this. Women sense incongruency instantly. If you act attached but crave attention, the chase never starts. If you act confident but seek outcome, the dynamic collapses. The trick only works when your internal state is real, when you genuinely don't need the outcome. That state removes pressure. Pressure is the enemy of pursuit. Another layer is how women respond to emotional minimalism. Saying less, reacting less, doing less. Less noise creates clarity. Clarity creates focus. Focus creates movement. Another uncomfortable truth is this: chasing is a response to emotional leadership. Emotional leadership does not mean controlling your feelings. It means not being controlled by them. If her mood moves you, she won't chase. If your state remains steady, she will feel the imbalance, and imbalance creates pursuit. Another uncomfortable realization is that women chase men who could leave emotionally at any time without anger. Not because they want them to leave, but because freedom feels safe, and safety allows desire to move. Another truth most men resist is this: you cannot fake this. Women sense incongruency instantly. If you act detached but crave attention, the chase never starts. If you act confident but seek outcome, the dynamic collapses. The trick only works when your internal state is real, when you genuinely don't need the outcome. That state removes pressure. Pressure is the enemy of pursuit. Another layer is how women respond to emotional minimalism. Saying less, reacting less, doing less. Less noise creates clarity. Clarity creates focus. Focus creates movement. Another uncomfortable truth is this: chasing is not about dominance, it's about non-attachment. Non-attachment creates space. Space creates curiosity. Curiosity creates pursuit. This is why the trick feels invisible, because nothing obvious changes, only the dynamic. And once the dynamic shifts, behavior follows. Not because you asked, but because her nervous system responded. This is the foundation, because once you understand why women chase, you stop trying to make it happen. And when you stop trying, it starts happening on its own, quietly, naturally, without effort. This is where pursuit begins, not with action, but with restraint. Once this dynamic is in place, something subtle but powerful starts to happen. She begins leaning forward emotionally. Not because you pulled her, but because you stopped leaning first. This is the part most men misunderstand. They think chasing is caused by withdrawal. It's not. It's caused by emotional asymmetry. When one person is fully grounded and the other is still orienting, movement begins. Most men destroy this asymmetry by rushing to equalize. They match effort, they match emotion, they match investment. And the moment everything is equal, pursuit dies. Chasing requires imbalance, but not imbalance of power, imbalance of emotional dependence. The woman must feel that she is slightly more invested than you are. Not because you are cold, but because you are complete. Another uncomfortable truth is this: women don't chase men who are trying to be mysterious. They chase men who are naturally unavailable emotionally because they are not seeking completion. There is a huge difference. Artificial distance feels manipulative. Natural independence feels attractive. One repels, the other pulls. Another layer is how women respond to men who don't rush emotional clarity. Most men want to know where they stand. They want confirmation. They want labels. They want reassurance. And the moment they ask for it, the chase ends. Because asking reveals uncertainty inside you. Uncertainty inside you removes uncertainty inside her. And without uncertainty, there is nothing to chase. Another important detail is how women experience emotional investment. Investment is not about time. It's about mental engagement. When her mind starts looping around you, chasing has already begun. Questions appear. Why did he say that? Why didn't he react? Why didn't he follow up? These questions are not confusion, they're attachment forming. Most men answer these questions too quickly. They explain, they clarify, they reassure, and in doing so, they stop the chase. Another deep truth is this: Women chase men who don't complete emotional loops too early. Completion feels satisfying, but satisfaction ends desire. Desire feeds on open loops, not manipulation, open-ended presence. Another uncomfortable realization is that women chase when they feel emotionally safe to invest. Safety does not mean availability. It means predictability of character, not predictability of behavior. If she knows your values, your calm, your self-respect are consistent, she feels safe. If she doesn't know how emotionally accessible you'll be, she stays engaged. That combination is rare, and rarity triggers pursuit. Another layer is how women respond to men who don't emotionally reward every interaction. Immediate validation trains complacency. Delayed validation creates focus. Not silence, not coldness, just measured response. Another truth most men don't realize is that chasing intensifies when you don't mirror emotions. If she is excited and you remain grounded, she leans in. If she pulls back and you remain calm, she returns. If she tests and you don't react, she invests. Mirroring collapses polarity. Grounding restores it. Another uncomfortable truth is this: chasing never starts when you try to keep her interested. Trying signals fear. Fear collapses attraction. The man who trusts the moment doesn't manage interest. He allows it. Allowance creates space. Space creates movement. Another deep layer is emotional dignity. Women chase men who don't sacrifice dignity for connection, who don't overextend, who don't over-explain, who don't overcompensate. Dignity creates respect. Respect fuels pursuit. Another factor is how women respond to men who don't emotionally negotiate. No bargaining, no convincing, no pleading, just presence. Presence without agenda is magnetic. Another uncomfortable realization is that women chase men who are not afraid of silence. Silence creates reflection. Reflection deepens attachment. Men who talk through silence prevent attachment from forming. Another truth is this: chasing doesn't feel like chasing to her. It feels like curiosity. It feels like interest. It feels like wanting to know more. And that's the key. When you stop trying to be known, you become interesting. When you stop explaining yourself, you become engaging. When you stop trying to secure her attention, she begins securing yours. Another layer is how women respond to emotional leadership. Leadership here means setting the emotional tempo. Not fast, not slow, natural. The man who controls tempo controls pursuit. Another uncomfortable truth is that women chase men who are not outcome-focused. Outcome focus feels transactional. Transactions kill desire. Presence restores it. Another deep realization is this: chasing is not triggered by what you do. It's triggered by what you don't do. You don't rush, you don't cling, you don't secure. You let the dynamic breathe, and when it breathes, it moves toward you, quietly, instinctively, without force. This is why the psychological trick feels invisible, because it's not an action, it's a removal of pressure. And once pressure is gone, pursuit becomes natural. Not because you engineered it, but because nothing inside you stopped it. This is where the chase deepens, not through effort, but through emotional stillness. And once it starts, it feeds itself, because curiosity wants resolution, and you are no longer rushing to give it. As this pursuit builds, the most important thing to understand is why it intensifies instead of fading. Because once she starts moving emotionally toward you, the smallest mistake most men make is trying to meet her halfway. They feel the shift, they sense the interest, they notice the effort, and they respond by increasing theirs. That response feels logical. It's also what kills the chase. Chasing only exists when movement is one-sided. The moment you rush to balance the dynamic, the engine shuts off. The men women chase understand something counterintuitive. They do not accelerate when interest appears, they stabilize. Stability creates a fixed point, and a fixed point gives movement direction. Another deep truth is this: Women chase men who don't emotionally capitalize on attraction. Capitalizing feels like taking. Taking ends pursuit. The man who lets attraction exist without exploiting it keeps momentum alive. Another uncomfortable realization is how women respond to emotional availability once the chase begins. Availability that appears suddenly feels suspicious. Availability that remains consistent feels safe. But availability that is measured feels magnetic. Measured availability says, "I'm here, but I'm not handing myself over." That statement pulls. Another layer is how women respond to men who don't react to attention spikes. When she reaches out more, most men spike emotionally. They reply faster, they give more, they reveal more. This reveals hunger. Hunger ends the chase. The man who maintains the same emotional pace creates contrast. Contrast fuels curiosity. Another truth most men never accept is this: the chase deepens when you don't reward investment immediately. Immediate reward closes loops. Closed loops end movement. Delayed emotional payoff keeps engagement alive. Not punishment, not silence, just non-rush. Another layer is emotional predictability. Women chase men whose values are predictable, but whose emotional access is not guaranteed. Predictable values feel safe. Unpredictable access feels engaging. That combination is rare, and rarity fuels pursuit. Another uncomfortable truth is that women chase men who don't emotionally celebrate being chosen. Celebration feels like relief. Relief ends desire. The man who receives interest calmly communicates abundance. Abundance keeps pursuit alive. Another deep mechanism is how women respond to emotional self-control during vulnerability. When she opens emotionally and you don't rush to merge, the chase strengthens. Merging feels good, but it collapses polarity. Listening without absorbing keeps tension alive. Another realization is that women chase men who don't turn emotional moments into milestones. Most men label moments. They define progress. They seek confirmation. Labeling finalizes. Finalization ends movement. The man who lets moments pass without naming them stays unfinished. And unfinished things pull attention. Another layer is emotional autonomy. If she feels your emotional state is not tied to her behavior, she invests more. If she feels she controls your mood, she relaxes and disengages. Control removes interest. Autonomy creates pull. Another uncomfortable truth is this: women chase men who don't emotionally punish distance. Punishment feels controlling. Control kills desire. Calm non-reaction invites return. Another deep layer is how women respond to men who don't ask for reassurance. Reassurance seeking flips the dynamic. The man who trusts the process remains chased. Another important realization is that chasing increases when you don't seek closure. Closure feels good, but good feelings end stories. Stories stay alive through open ends. Another truth most men don't want to hear is this: the chase dies the moment you ask, "Do you like me?" Not because the question is wrong, but because it reveals uncertainty inside you. Uncertainty inside you removes uncertainty inside her, and without uncertainty, there is nothing to chase. Another layer is emotional containment. Feeling desire without acting on it immediately signals power. Power attracts pursuit. Another uncomfortable truth is that women chase men who don't emotionally collapse into success. When things go well, most men lose discipline. They reveal everything. They lean fully. They secure outcomes. The man who stays composed during success becomes unforgettable because consistency under reward feels rare. Another deep realization is that chasing is sustained by space between responses, not artificial delays, natural spacing. Spacing allows her mind to move toward you. Another layer is how women respond to emotional humility, not self-doubt. Humility as self-sufficiency. I don't need this, but I enjoy it. That energy keeps pursuit alive. Another truth is that women chase men who don't make attraction the center of their life. When attraction becomes central, it loses power. When it becomes a side effect of your presence, it grows. Another uncomfortable realization is this: chasing strengthens when you stop monitoring it. Monitoring creates tension. Tension weaks. The man who trusts the dynamic lets it deepen naturally. Another layer is emotional leadership. Leadership here means not letting excitement or fear dictate behavior. The man who remains grounded during both becomes the emotional reference point, and reference points attract movement. Another truth is that chasing is not dramatic. It's quiet. More engagement, more curiosity, more initiative, and the moment you try to capitalize on it, it fades. The men who keep the chase alive don't try to own it, they allow it, because pursuit is not something you grab, it's something you don't interrupt. This is the moment where most men fail. They feel pursuit and rush to finish the story. But stories that finish stop moving. The men women chase let the story breathe, and because it breathes, it continues toward them, without force, without effort, without words. This is how pursuit becomes sustained, not through tactics, but through restraint under interest, and that restraint is what keeps her moving forward. As the pursuit continues, something important begins to shift inside her. She stops reacting to you and starts orienting around you. This is the moment where chasing becomes internal, not expressed loudly, not announced, but felt. Her thoughts begin circling back. Her attention checks in even when you're absent. Her emotional investment deepens quietly. This happens because you didn't rush to stabilize the dynamic. You allowed her nervous system to do the work. Most men interrupt this phase without realizing it. They sense the pull and try to secure it. They become more available, more expressive, more present, and the moment they do, the orientation collapses, because pursuit needs direction, not saturation. Another uncomfortable truth is this: women don't chase men who become emotionally predictable once interest appears. Predictability feels safe, but safety without tension becomes static. Static does not move. The man who remains emotionally consistent but acts as consistent only to himself keeps movement alive. Another deep layer is how women respond to men who don't emotionally reward curiosity immediately. Curiosity is a fragile state. It needs space. If you answer everything, explain everything, and reveal everything, curiosity dies. The man who lets curiosity linger keeps pursuit active. Another important truth is how women respond to emotional autonomy. When she senses that your happiness, direction, and confidence exist independently of her response, something shifts. She is no longer the source. She becomes a participant, and participants invest. Another uncomfortable realization is that women chase men who do not emotionally collapse into exclusivity too early. Exclusivity without depth feels like confinement. Confinement ends desire. The man who allows exclusivity to emerge rather than be declared keeps momentum alive. Another layer is emotional calibration. The men women chase are not cold, they are measured. Warm without flooding, interested without clinging, present without consuming. This calibration keeps the nervous system engaged without overload. Another truth most men resist is this: the chase strengthens when you don't emotionally capitalize on vulnerability. When she opens up and you don't rush to bond, she leans in more. Bonding too fast removes polarity. Listening without merging sustains it. Another deep mechanism is how women respond to men who don't emotionally reward curiosity immediately. Curiosity is a fragile state. It needs space. If you answer everything, explain everything, and reveal everything, curiosity dies. The man who lets curiosity linger keeps pursuit active. Another important truth is how women respond to emotional autonomy. When she senses that your happiness, direction, and confidence exist independently of her response, something shifts. She is no longer the source. She becomes a participant, and participants invest. Another uncomfortable realization is that women chase men who do not emotionally collapse into exclusivity too early. Exclusivity without depth feels like confinement. Confinement ends desire. The man who allows exclusivity to emerge rather than be declared keeps momentum alive. Another layer is emotional calibration. The men women chase are not cold, they're measured. Warm without flooding, interested without clinging, present without consuming. This calibration keeps the nervous system engaged without overload. Another truth most men resist is this: the chase strengthens when you don't emotionally capitalize on vulnerability. When she opens up and you don't rush to bond, she leans in more. Bonding too fast removes polarity. Listening without merging sustains it. Another deep mechanism is how women respond to men who don't emotionally reward attraction immediately. Attraction, once it becomes your identity, becomes fragile. Fragile identities seek reassurance. Reassurance seeking kills pursuit. The man who stays grounded in who he is regardless of attraction remains chaseworthy. Another uncomfortable truth is that women chase men who don't try to lock in the future. Future locking removes uncertainty. Uncertainty fuels desire. The man who stays present-focused keeps her emotionally engaged. Another layer is emotional leadership under pressure. When tension appears, most men rush to resolve it. Resolution removes movement. The man who tolerates tension calmly allows pursuit to continue. Another truth is that women chase men who do not emotionally flinch when boundaries appear. Boundaries do not threaten grounded men, they respect them. That respect deepens attraction. Another realization is that pursuit deepens when you don't interpret interest as obligation. Interest is a signal, not a contract. The man who treats interest lightly remains attractive. Another layer is how women respond to emotional dignity under desire. Dignity is how you behave when you could chase but choose not to. That choice communicates abundance. Abundance sustains pursuit. Another uncomfortable truth is this: women chase men who don't emotionally anchor themselves to communication frequency. Missed messages don't shake them. Delayed replies don't destabilize them. Silence doesn't threaten them. That calm is felt, and calm pulls. Another deep truth is that chasing strengthens when you stop trying to become important. Importance cannot be chased. It emerges from emotional self-sufficiency. The man who already feels complete invites investment. Another layer is how women respond to emotional consistency under desire. When desire rises, most men change. They speed up, they lean in, they secure. The man who remains himself becomes unforgettable, because consistency under temptation signals strength. Another realization is that pursuit is not built through action. It's built through inaction at the right moments. Not avoidance, restraint. Restraint is the rarest form of confidence. Another uncomfortable truth is this: chasing only continues as long as the man does not need it. The moment he wants pursuit, it disappears. The man women chase never want to be chased. They want to be aligned. And alignment keeps movement alive. This is where the dynamic becomes self-sustaining, because the chase is no longer something you're managing, it's something she's experiencing internally. And internal experiences are far more powerful than external behaviors. This is the stage where most men finally realize chasing was never about tactics. It was about who holds their emotional center. And the man who holds his center gives her something to move toward, without pressure, without force, without words. This is where pursuit becomes inevitable, not because you engineered it, but because nothing inside you blocked it. And once it reaches this stage, it feels natural, effortless, quiet. and deeply compelling. This is the moment where chasing stops being something you think about and starts being something you simply notice happening around you. At the deepest level, this is why the chase feels effortless when it happens. Because nothing is being forced. No persuasion, no strategy, no pressure. Only emotional gravity doing its work. Most men think chasing is created by excitement. It isn't. Excitement spikes and fades. Chasing is created by unfinished emotional movement. Movement that you did not rush to stop. The men women chase are not trying to be chased. They are simply not interfering with the process. They don't grab attention. They don't secure outcomes. They don't lock in certainty. They allow interest to breathe. And breathing interest moves on its own. Another truth most men never realize is this: the moment you stop needing her to chase, you become chase-worthy. Need collapses polarity. Freedom restores it. The man who is okay without pursuit creates the very conditions that cause it, not because he withdraws, but because he stays centered. Another uncomfortable realization is that the chase ends the moment you identify it as a goal. Goals create tension. Tension creates pressure. Pressure kills desire. The man who stays present lets desire move naturally. Another deep truth is this: chasing is not driven by logic. A woman does not decide to pursue. Her nervous system responds to emotional imbalance. That imbalance only exists when you are emotionally independent. Another layer is how pursuit deepens when you don't emotionally reward effort too quickly. Reward closes loops. Closed loops end movement. The man who receives attention calmly keeps the loop open. Another uncomfortable truth is that chasing is sustained by trust in self, not confidence in outcome. When you trust yourself, you don't rush. When you don't rush, pursuit continues. Another realization is that women chase men who are internally still during emotional highs and lows. When things are intense, you don't escalate. When things are quiet, you don't panic. That consistency becomes a reference point. Reference points attract movement. Another truth is that chasing collapses the moment you attempt to control it. Control creates resistance. Allowance creates pull. The man who allows the dynamic to unfold stays attractive. Another deep layer is how women respond to emotional sovereignty. When your emotional state is not affected by her behavior, she feels free to move toward you. Freedom invites desire. Another uncomfortable truth is that chasing is strongest when you do not interpret interest as obligation. Interest is a signal, not a responsibility. The man who treats it lightly stays magnetic. Another realization is that women chase men who do not turn connection into identity. When connection becomes identity, it becomes fragile. Fragility seeks reassurance. Reassurance kills pursuit. Another truth is this: the chase does not end because she gets you. It ends because you need her to get you. The moment you stop needing to be understood, you become interesting again. Another deep realization is that the chase is not about mystery. It's about non-attachment. Non-attachment creates space. Space creates curiosity. Curiosity creates movement. Another uncomfortable truth is that most men never experience this because they try to hold on to moments. Holding turns moments into endings. Letting go turns moments into momentum. Another layer is emotional maturity. Maturity is knowing when not to act, knowing when not to speak, knowing when not to secure. This restraint is what keeps pursuit alive. Another realization is that chasing feels natural when you stop making attraction your focus. When attraction becomes a side effect of your presence, it grows. When it becomes the objective, it dies. Another truth most men never accept is this: you cannot fake indifference. You must genuinely be okay without the outcome. That inner peace is felt instantly, and that peace invites pursuit. Now, if this video helped you understand why women chase when pressure disappears, there is one video you should watch next, because pursuit is only one side of the dynamic. The other side explains how attention itself becomes anchored to you, without words, without effort, and without control. That's exactly what I break down in my video called How to Control a Woman's Attention Without Saying a Word. That video shows how emotional stability creates focus, why non-reactivity forms a psychological grip, and how presence alone keeps attention locked. Watch that next. Because when you understand both attention and pursuit, attraction stops feeling random. It becomes a natural response to who you are. And when that happens, you don't chase connection. Connection moves toward you, quietly, instinctively, without resistance. That is the real psychological shift. And once it happens, nothing needs to be forced again.